All right. Hello, everybody. We have Joanne Shih here from Matrka Studio and Cafe. How are you doing today, Joanne?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me. And how about yourself?
I'm doing really well. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. So why don't you start off, Joanne, with what do you do?
Okay, so thanks for introducing me through Matrka Studio and Cafe. So as this title may already been put out there, I am the owner of Matrka Studio and Cafe. Other than that, I am a yoga teacher. I teach at a local studio called Yoga Studio in Coquitlam. So I teach public classes and assist manage the studio and also host workshop and teacher training. So I'm also a teacher trainer as well. So this is what I do on a daily basis, on top of preparing to launch my new business.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. Exciting time for sure. And how long have you been working in like the Yu-Gi-Oh, the wellness space and focusing on your own business now?
Okay, so I would say the wellness that we identify, the wellness space, I would say about 3 years, but I have a vet medicine background. So I study vet medicine and medicine science in general since like over 10 years ago. And I would say that's also part of the wellness and mindfulness and health in general. So yeah, for as long as I was when I was in school.
Oh,
That's kind
phenomenal.
of like the background. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's phenomenal. And what kind of like, in the studio with the wellness, what kind of clientele are you generally working with? These just professionals, regular people? What's your general clientele look like?
So my approach is everyone's welcome. So we have a very, very wide base of clientele, all genders, people of all age, from teenagers to seniors, 70s, 80s. Those are people who you can see all in my class or all in the classes of the studio. And yeah, it's a mix of different people from different culture and people from different background or physical strength or capacity. So this is what we offer from yoga, and this is what we think yoga is available, how we think yoga is available for everyone.
For sure. I have a good, strong background in marketing and advertising with the personal training and fitness space. So absolutely, yeah, that's a phenomenal approach, and I love that. Having been functioning throughout the pandemic and over the last couple of years working in this space, were there any considerations or changes in the way that you did business that you had to make through moving through the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot. From the way we are having this conversation, I think this is a significant product of the pandemic, and as well as in the wellness field and how we offer classes to student. Like in the past, before pandemic, we obviously have people come into the studio, do in-studio class, in-person class is the primary way that we offer our teaching and classes. But throughout the pandemic, everything shut down. We cannot have in-person contact. So right away, we try to transition into a virtual modality. And sorry, 1 second. So right away, we transitioned into virtual modality, and it was a whole bunch of work to just go through that transition, adapt virtual classes as well as a recording video library for the studio. And so coming out from this, I don't even know how to describe this, but coming out from that phases, we now develop in-person, virtual, and video library to offer classes to our clientele. And people actually appreciate that. Some people still enjoy coming back into the studio, but some people find the virtual modality actually fits into their schedule, and they can still have a practice, have a dedicated ritual to themselves. And other than that, I would say we did a lot of try and error in the past 2 years. We offer virtual workshop to just keep people mentally sand and just keep
Yeah.
people mentally supported and have the momentum and the connection between the community as well.
100%. Well, you actually answered my next question, which is I was going to ask, were there any of those changes that you made throughout the pandemic that have continued now? And you mentioned stuff like you continue the online classes, the online workshop in the library you have there. Any other like considerations of the way that you guys did business throughout the pandemic that you kept, or were there any, say, adjustments to the way you did your service that you just found was a greater way to serve your clientele, your customers, so you continued those efforts?
From my perspective, maybe the business owner has something else to say, but from my perspective, I think definitely there's a shift in how we see the business. Because
Absolutely.
before the pandemic, things are running pretty steady. And we kind of have a projection on, how things are going to be in certain season in this field.
Mhm.
But because of the pandemic, everything just blend into one
True.
big picture. So
Absolutely.
for me, I kind of want to draw myself back from going through the projection from the past, but see what is going on in the present moment and take action based on that. Because from the past, we have a more realistic example is from the past. Summertime is well known, a downtime for the wellness industry. People tend to go outdoor, and people tend not to participate slower activity or yoga kind of
Yeah.
activity. But this time of the year, we are actually preparing for the slow time.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
as I can feel right now, it's different. It's people are still coming to classes, people are still engaging with a variety of different activity, even though maybe summer activity are ramping up, but we didn't see as much drop in the studio
Yeah.
compared to the past time. So I think this is something as a business operator we need to keep in mind, that even though we have a projection from past experience, but everything after the pandemic kind of just gave us an opportunity to really look into what is working in the present moment and what is not working, and what is working from the past doesn't mean it works in the present moment.
For sure, for sure. That's a beautiful insight, and definitely something I agree with that completely. Right. Um, as you're kind of making changes to your business, you have to reevaluate where the market is right now and what it's responding to, what your members, what your customers like and appreciate out of your business, and
Yeah.
making sure you're totally correct. That might not be the same thing that they really appreciated in the past. That might have changed over to something different now. So that awareness and keeping in touch with your clientele is so important. One thing we discuss with a lot of our clients in business coaching is how often are you just picking up the phone and checking in with them? Hey, are you really satisfied with their service? What are we doing really well?
Yeah.
What can we do better in? Right. So absolutely great point there. And that kind of ties into our next one here, Joanne. You kind of mentioned you're transitioning into business ownership. You've been helping a lot with the operations of this one. Since you've been at this level, what would you say is one of the biggest lessons you've had on business ownership so far throughout your journey?
I mean, what is the biggest
Kind of learning lesson that you had?
learning lesson?
Mhm.
Um, so I think this is a pretty crucial question for me at this point of
Mhm.
my journey. Um, so I would say for me, I try to keep myself a beginner's mind all the time
Yeah.
and always learning. There's always something new for me to learn, even just from the setup of a business to the operation of the business. And I really, really cherish and appreciate people around me that runs the business with me and create the space with me. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but um, the learning process, I guess patience is one more point as well for me.
Mhm.
Know that everything takes time, and even though there's we always say, like, we set a goal, we set our vision, or we set something in front of us. But it is not about, for me, I feel like it's not about actually achieving the destination, achieving the goal, because I will always have different goals and different destination once I reach a certain point. So for me, it's not about getting there. It's about how I am being in the present moment, in the process, and the engagement with people around me, and how this whole process can serve the people that I want to serve. And I guess this is what I've been holding on to along my journey, and right now and in the future. I'm not sure if this answers your questions, but
I think
you
it
can ask
absolutely
more
does.
specific questions.
No, I think that absolutely
Okay.
does. You mentioned a few things there. One of the ones I really hung on to is that it really does sound like you're always learning. You're always willing to learn more, right? You're trying to take as much out of these experiences as you can, whether it's business operations or how to set up your business, all those other, and which is, that's a phenomenal lesson. Oftentimes, as we transition into full on business ownership and then running the darn thing, we can get so obsessed with like the day to day. Are we making enough money? Did we break even? Like all these other things that. What are we doing next term? Like you were mentioning, are we preparing for the slow season, right? We forget about, if we don't raise our level of intellect when it comes to the problems and challenges we deal with, we'll never be able to grow above them. So I think that is a great point you mentioned there. For anybody listening today, maybe in your area, Joanne, is there probably a really good way for people to get in touch? You say they're looking for some help in, they want to take a yoga class, they want to get involved, get better wellness practice in their life. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Okay, so I will give out two ways of getting in touch with me. First, you can find me on my website. I have my joanneyoga.com website. So it's all in one word, joanneyoga.com. And there you'll find a lot of like social media handles and my email address. So my email will be joanne@joanneyoga.com. That's for the yoga side. And soon I will be announcing the handles for Matrka Studio and Cafe.
Awesome.
And another way to stay in touch is through jaiyoga.com. So search Jai Yoga Coquitlam, then you'll be able to find my regular classes, my workshops, and my teacher training program.
Awesome. And we'll include all that information below so people can get in touch with you if they need to as well.
Awesome.
And the last question today, it's a big one. What is the most inspiring thing to you today, Joanne?
I did today?
What's the most inspiring thing to you in general? Like, what's the most inspiring thing to you right now?
Oh, what's the most inspiring thing? I would say being in the nature.
Oh, being in nature. I love that. Absolutely.
Being in nature. There's a lot of inspiration around us, like so much. Like we can't even count with technology, with phone, with social media. Absolutely everything is inspiring. But I would say nowadays I really enjoy surround myself with nature environment, whether it's like by the beach or just go out for a hike, or even just being with my plants. I do like planting and learning from those little green little stuff. They don't talk, they don't talk to you, they don't move, but they teach you so much. How perseverance a seed is. They can survive through all different conditions, but when you give them the right environment, they grow like crazy, and it's just incredible. Awesome. So I think that would be one thing I would say it inspires me the most.
Oh, I love that. That's an amazing answer. I think that's one of the best ones I've gotten so far. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the time today, Joanne. We really appreciate it. It was great to have you on, and we'll definitely stay in touch.